tell you a little bit about my background. Okay, I'm a psychic. I'm an energy emotional healer. I don't call it Reiki anymore. It's just energy. That's all it is. I'm a medium. I talk to animals, animal communicator. I'm an animal healer. There's not much I don't know. I've studied everything through the years, so I know a little bit about everything. And I put everything, all the healing that I know together, the best parts of the healing that people learn, into what I do now, which I call heart and soul healing. So the way I got started into metaphysics and healing, I had it had taken me, I tried for 11 years to get pregnant and could not get pregnant, tried everything. So finally we did fertility drugs, I get pregnant, and I have a wreck in the 6th month of my pregnancy, a head-on collision. My daughter, we later learned, had a stroke from the wreck. I carried her another 2 months, so during that time the blood just totally destroyed her brain, where by the time she was born there was almost nothing there. So I was really upset, you know, I mean, everybody was telling me, oh, well, God had a reason for doing this, you're being punished, you know, all this stuff. And that wasn't my God. I knew my God didn't do that. And I was furious. I was so angry at God because he had done this to my baby, you know. We only get one chance at life, and here he did this to her. So I turned my back on God, didn't want anything to do with him for like 3 years. And Samantha is the one who really brought me to all of this. And I started getting this urge to find some way to get back to spirit. And I studied every religion in the world. And it was really interesting because I learned that Christianity is one of the most violent religions out there, which was really a surprise to me. But I just kind of put together, my heart's Native American, but I put together, you know, a lot of other beliefs too. And so then I started learning, because my daughter was very ill and handicapped and all the problems that she had, I started learning how I could help her. And I studied all different healing techniques. You know, there's like a gazillion different Reikis that I'm a master healer in. Therapeutic touch, angel healings, just anything I could find to learn to help my daughter. Learning about herbs and nutrition and just everything. And it did help her, but it also helped me. And it helped me. She stayed alive. She was supposed to die when she was 7. She lived for until she was 22. And even the doctor told me one day, he said, it's nothing I'm doing that's making her better. It's you and all this stuff that you're doing. So it was very obvious that I'm the one that kept her alive for 22 years. Me and Spirit, you know, we did it. So all of these things that I learned also helped me, because I had hurt my back and struggling to take care of her with a hurt back was really difficult, and it just made the back worse. So I learned all these techniques, and I also learned to use them on me. And I learned what worked and what didn't work. And Samantha was my guinea pig. I would, like, when I would read about crystals and what crystals would do, I would go put one of those crystals with her, like amethyst. Amethyst is supposed to help you to talk, to be able to speak. And so I put an amethyst crystal with her, and the next thing I know, she's babbling like crazy. You know? So she was my guinea pig, and she's the one that helped me to figure out what worked and what didn't, and what's true and what's not. She was very profoundly brain damaged. Like I said, there was almost no brain tissue there, but she was the most psychic person I have ever met in my life. There is no way I could keep up with her. I couldn't. I tried, because she would get into things in realms that she shouldn't have been in, and I couldn't go get her out of them, you know. But she was a very amazing child. It was an amazing experience. And she taught me so much about life. And now that she's gone, she's taught me so much about death and what it's like on the other side. And I'm trying to get a book written about it, but it's not easy to do. But it's just been really amazing, that experience with her and everything that I learned going through it with her. And I asked her after she died if she had seen a tunnel of light, you know, because everybody talks about the tunnel of light. And her response was, oh, hell no. My daughter, she said, I saw a flash of light when my cord disconnected, but she said, I wouldn't call that a tunnel. Maybe some people see it as a tunnel. She said, I didn't. She just stepped out of her body and into the fifth dimension. I mean, it is, she's shown me it's the fifth dimension because it's instant manifestation. And that's what the fifth dimension is all about, being able to manifest instantly. And she just stepped out of this right into that fifth dimension. So it's been really amazing. You have a question, girl? Oh, you look like you were going to ask something. If anybody has any questions, just let me know. So
has she ever told you she's not allowed to tell you stuff?
she told me what?
That she's not allowed to tell you stuff about death? Because I
No.
had my dad tell me he's not allowed to tell me stuff. I'm just wondering if she had those rules.
Well, it's not, sometimes people think that if they tell you something, it'll hurt.
Yeah, maybe that's.
So they'll use that as an excuse. And there are some times when I cannot connect to somebody on the other side and, just not be able to connect with them. And when that happens, I call in Samantha and I say, Samantha, what can you tell me? And she'll give me the information that I need.
That's really cool.
Some people are afraid. They're afraid of angels because they did things wrong in this lifetime. And they're afraid that they're going to be judged. So they're afraid of angels, so they don't go with the angels. They don't know Uncle Joe, so they don't want to go with Uncle Joe, so they get stuck here. And it's because they're afraid to go to the other side. So that happens a lot too. Yeah. But the one thing, in all the years that I've done mediumship and talking to people on the other side, I have yet to have anybody tell me they were in hell.
Oh.
That was a yay?
That was a yay.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, not one single person has told me they were in hell. I have had people who were stuck in confusion that needed help getting to the other side or getting to healing, but never somebody, and we create our own hell. There are people who do that. Well, here or on the other side too, but they're not, I've never had anybody tell me they were in hell. Not anybody. So I've always thought that was really interesting.
The church made it up.
Exactly.
Do people sometimes, like if they have done a lot of harm in their life and then they cross over, do they create a hell they think they deserve or
They
something
can.
later?
We go through a period where we judge ourselves, and for some it's just an instantaneous thing. And like I was working with my client today, and this guy she knew died the other day, and he kept appearing to her and she couldn't understand why. And I got that it was because he's going through that judgment phase of judging himself, and he judged himself as not having honored the contract that he had with her in this lifetime. So he was going through that judgment, which some people could create a hell during that little bit of time. But they move out of it. The movie had Robin Williams in it. What Dreams May Come. That is the closest to reality of what it's actually like over there. When Samantha died, we got to where we could communicate very well psychically with Samantha. And so for several months before she died, she kept giving us hints that she was going to die, and we kept telling her, no, you can't go. And she would take her nurse, she had a nurse that took care of her, she would take her with her psychically. And they would go to this beautiful English manor by a river, and this most handsome man she had ever seen there. And she would go spend time with this guy. And she said the last time they went there, she never let Cheryl see what was going on. She made her sit with her back to everything. But the last time she took her there, she let her see everything. And as she left, she told the guy, I'll be here soon. And when she left, she went straight to her manor, her English manor. And the night that when we had her going away party is what I call it. We had her cremated, and then we had a going away party. That night, she had her own party. And we were all there. There was like 5 or 6 of us that the next day compared notes, and we had all been to that party. And she was hanging around with the Beatles and, Princess Diana and people like that over there. And she had all of them at her party. It's cool. It's really interesting learning all these things about what it's really like over there. But we do create our own reality. Some people create a cabin by the river where they can go fishing and hunting. You know, some people create a heaven where there's lots of animals. You know, everybody creates what it is they want to create.
Can I have an English manor with tons of kitties?
If that's what you want, yes. If that's what you want.
Time's running out.
Start working on
You
it.
better get on that.
Really. But I put all of these techniques together into what I call heart and soul healing. And part of heart and soul healing is soul retrieval. How many people know what soul retrieval is? Well, most of you do. Good. So, you know, I learned about soul retrieval through the Native American tradition. Studying Sandra, I can't remember her last name, Sandra Ingerman, and some other guy that she worked with. And in the Native American tradition, when they return soul pieces, they return like 1 or 2 soul pieces at a time. You don't get all your pieces back in a lifetime. And so one of my teachers did a soul retrieval one day, and she literally, her and another person would grab our arm, one on each side, and they would literally energetically pull all the soul pieces back into the body. It was the most traumatic thing I've ever experienced in my life. I spent a month in bed, could not do anything. It was very traumatic. And I'm like, okay, there has to be an easier way to do this. And so my angels gave me a technique for doing it over 3 sessions where it was a very gentle technique, you know, where people were able to heal. And then I used my abilities with emotional healing and that to go back and find the issues that cause those soul pieces to leave and work through those. And it was just so life-changing.
I'm unfamiliar with soul retrieval. Could you elaborate on that just a little bit more?
In the Native American tradition, the way they teach it is every time we have a trauma, we lose a piece of our soul. For a 2-year-old, it can be mom telling them, no, you can't have that toy. You know, how many kids have you seen in the store throwing a fit because mom told them no on a toy? They're losing pieces of their soul. We give pieces of our soul away. You know, like my daughter being sick, I was always giving her pieces of my soul. Our parents, if we're worried about our parents, we'll give them a piece of our soul.
So it's similar to establishing these cords with people, just a little more potent and permanent, I guess.
Except there's no cords,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, it's a similar concept though, right?
Kind of.
To a
It's like
degree.
taking a piece of you, you know, ripping out a piece of you and
Just
giving it to
fragment.
somebody else. Fragments.
Okay.
The soul can completely shatter.
Hmm.
I'm working right now with a boy who has schizophrenia, and I'm working with him every day. Every single day I work with him. And I worked with him one night, cleared his energy, he was doing great. The next morning, his soul was shattered. I don't have any idea, I still haven't figured it out, what did it. But just overnight, he shattered.
What does that mean?
What? The soul shattering?
Yes.
It's like just everything exploded. All the soul pieces were gone.
Was he able to
And
function?
how did that affect him?
He went into a schizophrenic
Episode.
episode.
Did he stay that way?
No, I got him back together. He went into the hospital, and he's doing better. But it was just it floored me because I didn't know it could happen that quickly, that just overnight. But with him, it was and I have yet to figure out exactly what happened to shattering. I don't know. But that can happen to people. There was one lady that when we were doing that first soul retrieval where they pulled everybody in, nobody could stand to be close to her. She was a wonderful lady, but she had no soul almost. I mean, there was very little soul there, so she would suck everybody's energy. Have you met people like that? You
Yeah,
go.
psychic vampires.
Well, it's well beyond psychic vampire.
Really?
Yes.
Huh.
This
is
was
the
well
first I've heard
beyond
of
that.
all of this stuff.
Yeah, it was well beyond that. But nobody could stand to be close to her. If she came and sat by me, I'd have to get up and move because she would just totally drain every ounce of my energy. They did the soul retrieval on her and brought her pieces back. Totally different person. She never sucked energy again.
Have you ever worked with any autistic children?
The boy that I'm working with that is schizophrenic is also a little bit autistic.
Do the fragments that you give to somebody else benefit them somehow?
Not really. We think they do, but they don't really. The thing that I had to learn with my daughter, and as a parent, it's so hard to do, especially when your daughter is sick. And I mean, every month I was being told, go home and prepare, she's not gonna make it this time. And I did that for 15 years. So eventually I finally had to reach a point and say, Samantha, because I was trying so hard to make her well. I was putting in so much effort and learning all these things to make her well, and it wasn't working. So finally I said, look, this is your life. If you want to live, live. If you want to die, die. I'm not going to control your life anymore. She got better. After I backed out of it, pulled my energy away, and quit interfering, she got better. So by giving somebody our energy, we could actually be hurting them and keeping them from being able to heal. Yeah. And I have yet to find anybody that doesn't have soul loss. It happens to all of us, I mean, we all have traumas, we all lose boyfriends, we all have people die, we all experience it. And some of the symptoms of that is when, you feel like you have a hole in your heart, especially after a breakup. Everybody feels that, you've got a hole in your heart. It's because you do. You feel confused. You feel like you can't think straight. There's a feeling of not being whole, not being complete, like something's missing. And we all have these feelings. Depression is a classic sign of soul loss.
So are there different degrees of that? Because, like you said, a 2-year-old, like you're telling a 2-year-old no, they're losing a fragment of themselves just by being denied something?
Because it was something they really, really wanted, yeah.
Okay, so it's not just,
Traumatic.
it has to be traumatic.
Anything that's
Okay.
traumatic,
Okay.
yeah.
And for a 2-year-old, that would be.
Exactly.
For us, because I'm thinking,
Yeah, for us, that wouldn't be traumatic.
yes,
But not getting the car you dreamed of,
Yeah.
that could be traumatic for an adult.
yeah.
But for actual abuse, it would be.
Oh, big time, big time,
Very
Yeah.
much more.
yes,
It goes on and on and on.
big time. That's a big one, yeah,
Life changing, actual.
yes, yes. And, she reminded me about something with the child. What?
The abuse, she said the
He
abuse.
was pointing at me because I had my hand.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I was gonna say, as parents of a 2-year-old ourselves, how do you balance that? Like, how do you keep that from causing a lot of problems? Because obviously they can't have everything that they want.
No,
It's
they
just not feasible. So
Yeah.
how do you balance that?
The thing that I've learned works best with kids, get their mind on something else. They quickly forget, and just get their mind on something else. And do what?
Do some of the tapping things work?
Yes. Tapping does not work for me. For some reason, it does not work. But I can listen to them, to the things that they're saying, and just breathe through it, and I can release. But if I try doing tapping, it doesn't work. And later, during the second session today, I'm going to teach y'all a technique that I created for releasing energy, for working on yourself. That's really good. But, so a lot of us, you get to where you can't think straight. You feel hopeless and helpless. How many times in our lives have we gotten to a point that we just felt hopeless and helpless? Those are all symptoms of soul exhaustion. How many of us right now are just exhausted down to our very soul? That's soul loss, because we've lost so many pieces. This has been, the last 4 or 5 years, energetically have been so intense that it has caused many of us to lose soul pieces. And that's that soul exhaustion, that just being so tired we don't know what to do with ourselves. That's a symptom of soul loss. So in the technique that I use, it's really gentle. Like I said, I was doing it in 3 sessions where I would work with the client. Immediately when a client orders from me a session, the angels start working with them. I cannot tell you how many people have told me, God, I feel better already, and we haven't even had the session. So the angels go to work immediately. So when in the first session, the most easy pieces to bring back would come back, the least traumatized. And then the angels would continue to work with them. And then in the second session, the more traumatized pieces. And then by the last session, all the soul pieces would be returned. There would be once or twice I might have to do a second session on people, but very seldom. So about a year ago, the angels told me that I could do it in 1 hour instead of doing it over 3 sessions. So I did an experiment and I got some people to be my guinea pigs, and sure enough, people were healing so much faster, and the techniques, I guess I'd learned some new techniques that were making a difference too, that we could do that 3 sessions in a 1 hour session. And it's so life-changing. I've had people tell me, I'm strong enough now, I can leave my husband. That's a biggie. That is, to be, people feel whole.
Do you think that's because of the energy running better now, or do you think it's because you can interpret and do it for people better? Is it you,
It's
or
a
do you think it's the energy?
It's a combination of the energy and the new techniques that I learned. Being able to know, the only thing a technique is it gives you a guideline of how to connect to a certain energy.
Right.
And the latest things that I learned, it just kind of cemented everything together. It was just time to learn it.
So when the soul fragments return to you, is there an awareness of what you're receiving back?
Some people feel it, some people don't. As I work with people, I feel everything, as if it was happening to me. So I tell them, I felt pieces coming in here, and here, and if I see something, a vision of what was going on with one of the pieces when it left, I'll tell them that. But some people feel it and some people don't. It just all depends. But then later they say, I feel so much better. I feel so much better. And I've even done some of them at a distance and not even been working with the person. And I would do it late at night usually, because I feel better if I can do it at night when they're asleep, so it's not interfering with anything they're doing during the day. And they said, I woke up this morning feeling so good, I just knew you had done the session. And I opened my email and there it was. But people can really tell a difference getting those soul pieces back. It makes a huge difference. What I'm feeling or seeing or what's happening is the angels bring the pieces back.
If enough soul pieces have gone, then would the person just die?
Well, that one lady had most of hers missing and she was still alive.
And I think they still, Dr. Nelson teaches that, and maybe Raymond Grace too, that there are people that just don't have a soul.
What?
You have a physical body, you just don't have a soul.
This right here would explain it.
Well,
And
the only people I've ever met that I can say does not have a soul, one of them was a very profoundly retarded little boy that you can look at him and see there's nothing there. And I don't feel any soul as far as that goes attached to him.
Why do you call it soul pieces?
I don't know.
that's what it is.
That's just what I was always taught to call it.
So it doesn't have any specific meaning, except that's just what we call it. I mean, no, I'm just trying to
I know.
understand.
Like a puzzle piece?
If you call it something else, it reads down.
I'm trying to think of how I think the soul is like our spirit. It's the thing that we carry from lifetime to lifetime. And, huh?
Is
Your
that
life
what-
force,
Is that
exactly.
what they're taking, people take from you, like your energy, your, like you said a while ago, you can be with people sometimes and they give you out. Because they
Sometimes
live
that's
off
just-
of you.
Sometimes that's just a psychic vampire. There's a difference between somebody being a psychic vampire and just sucking the energy and actually losing a piece of your soul. There is a big difference there. It's easier to replace your energy than it is to get your soul to come back. It's a lot more traumatic, because those pieces left because of a trauma. So you really need to heal that trauma to get the pieces to come back and stay. And that's one of the problems with people that do, like that, pull in everybody's soul pieces that they did to us. If you don't heal those pieces, chances are they're not gonna stay. They're gonna leave again as soon as something reminds them of that trauma.
And what you do heals the
I heal
pieces
the
as you
trauma.
bring them back.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
When you bring it, do they have to deal with it, or you do it for them?
What do you mean?
And when you pull the piece back, the soul piece back?
I do the work. Yeah, I do it. So all they have to do is just relax and breathe. Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
When can we schedule?
I don't know, I've been wanting to try it in a group. I don't know if it would work in a group or not, because you can't do the individual healing in a group like you can. So I don't know if it would work.
We'll be your guinea pigs.
I don't have my book, so next time I'll bring my book and we'll try it. I'd be willing to do that. Could do a general issue for the whole group, instead of just individual.
Just a group conscious
Mhm.
issue. Be connected.
Well, it would be a general issue that everybody shares.
Like fear.
Yeah. Well, it would actually, the technique that I use for that is called one brain. That's the main technique that I use. Have you heard of it? Most people don't know what one brain is. Yeah, and then I've added a gazillion different things to it. But with that, it would go to the issue and then dig down. I can go down into other issues that are connected to it. And it would go to an age of cause for the group. Yeah, it would be for the whole group though.
That would be hard.
Huh?
That would be really hard.
I don't know how beneficial it would be.
Yeah, because everybody has strong.
Everybody has something different,
You can
right?
demonstrate with one person at a time. But that might be a privacy issue.
Yeah, that could be a privacy issue. Yeah. Because sometimes I do, as I'm working with a person, I'll get this thing of sexual abuse. And that's always a delicate thing with me. How do you approach somebody and ask them if you've been sexually abused? But I have to, I have to just say, has there been any sexual abuse? And because I'm able to do it with no judgment, and that's, somebody told me the other day, you're the only person I've ever worked with that has absolutely no judgment. And I'm able to work, there was one lady I worked with, and she was in her 60s, she had been sexually abused as a child, and everybody else made such a big deal about it, but to her it wasn't that big of a deal, and there was even a part of her that enjoyed it. So she felt like there was something wrong with her for 60 years because of that. And just me being able to be okay with that and not be judgmental and let her bring that up to heal, she was able to let go of 60 years worth of embarrassment and trauma and shame.
But if you had people, of course you might not know, but if you had people that you ask them if there's sexual abuse and they don't remember it and they say no.
Yes, that happens a lot.
Can you tell that? Can you?
It's hard
Maybe you
to,
don't know.
it's
You
hard to
can't.
be sure, because with a baby, changing a baby's diaper and getting up close and personal cleaning them could be a sexual abuse. Or we were sexually abused in another lifetime, but we think we were sexually abused in this lifetime. That happens a lot. That's why some people are accused of sexual abuse when they didn't really do it. It's because that's from another lifetime. And the memories came from that other lifetime. That happens a lot.
There seems to be more bleed through lately
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
from all the different lifetimes.
I don't know that it's more bleed through, but we have brought so much stuff into this one lifetime to complete. I swear to God, Archangel Michael got me drunk and said, "Come on, it'll be fun. Let's go do this."
I was doing drugs and drunk.
Yeah. But we just packed so much into this lifetime. We had no concept of what we were doing to ourselves. Yeah, but we want to be finished. This is a very pivotal lifetime.
Yes.
And we wanted to get finished. We wanted to be ready for that next step.
Do you really believe that?
What?
The closure in this lifetime? I get that all
Closure,
the
okay,
time.
is this gonna be our last lifetime? Probably
I
not.
really get that this is some kind of a closure.
It's getting, okay, we're getting ready to move into the fourth dimension. You know, I know everybody says it's the fifth, we're nowhere near the fifth. People think we are.
Right.
The fourth dimension is unconditional love. And I don't know,
That's gonna be hard. That's a hard one for everyone.
yes, it is very hard.
That's what I've been working with.
I have too for about 5 years. The opposite of unconditional love is judgment. As long as you have any judgment about anything, you're not being unconditionally loving. That means to yourself.
So do you think that we're gonna possibly have something bad happen and that's gonna be the reason why we're gonna go into the fourth dimension? Because I was thinking that the other day. With what happened in Paris and what's happening in all the other places.
Everything that is happening over the last year or so is definitely opening people's hearts.
Because it's like
Look at how people
yeah.
reacted.
Yeah, they were like, I was really shocked.
Yeah, look,
People were, like, everybody was just like, wow, this, everybody supporting it over
yeah,
Facebook. I was just kind of like,
yeah. And the people in Paris going out on the streets and saying, we're not gonna be afraid.
I actually saw a video on Facebook earlier today where a Muslim man had blindfolded himself and had a sign. Yeah, that was really awesome. That really surprised me.
Mhm.
But yeah, it said, for those that didn't see it, it said, I am not a terrorist. I trust you. Do you trust me? Please give me a hug or something like that. And tons of people were just coming up hugging him. And I mean, he was blindfolded. He had no idea. He just stood there and everybody was hugging him,
Yes.
taking pictures and stuff.
Yes, those
That's
are
pretty
all
cool.
signs that the hearts are opening. And I know people think the United States is so much more advanced than other countries,
We're not.
but we're so not.
we're technology wise, but not.
Well, not even technology-wise,
Yeah.
More deceived.
not anymore. We're behind in so many things,
Yeah.
but there's so many other countries that people are much more loving than we are here.
There's so much deception here, and the
Yes.
media distorts things and
Yes.
creates false reality.
Yeah. But everything that's happening right now is happening to open up the heart chakra or the heart, being able to love. Drunvalo McKezeldeck has said that we may have to die to enter the fourth dimension. That's a possibility, but we are going to enter that fourth dimension somehow.
I keep seeing that symbolic thing like, Choli, the new earth, where
Mhm.
there's the dark and then there's the light earth. And it seems like you could just go,
I don't think there's two earths like that.
better
But-
dimension earth.
The way that I see it, I don't, that there's this underground of drugs and all these things. That's not a part of my life at all. I don't see people like that. I don't have people like that around me. It's like it doesn't exist in my world. I think that's what it is, where there's two earths. You can be in the middle of it, and because you're more in your heart, I don't want to say your vibration's higher because that's kind of ego, but because you're more in your heart, you don't see all that stuff. It's not part of who you are. And I think that's what they mean by two earths, is you're in the middle of it, but you just don't see it.
It's not a part of your world.
Right. Right. Leslie told me one time that he said, you created your daughter and you could uncreate her. I still haven't figured that one out, but we do create our reality. But I do agree that before she was born, we agreed to have this experience, and that's when I created her. Yeah.
But you, that's all I take you out of it. All the time. Okay.
Yeah.
Nothing happens.
I believe in that.
No, nothing happens by accident. Nothing. I'll be working with a client and all of a sudden they'll get a call on their other phone or something to interrupt us. And I know right then, oop, they don't want to work on that issue. Yeah, nothing is by accident. And that's really, I'm trying to, I've been listening to a lot, y'all know Carolyn Mace? I've been listening to a lot of her stuff lately, and she thinks you do a contract on everything, absolutely everything. And I'm still having some problems with that one, but I'm really trying to look at everything as an agreement. I agreed to learn this, I agreed to experience this. And it's changes things when you can see things from that perspective. It's not easy, but it does change things.
You know, that's really hard for me to understand too, because I'm really into this whole thing, humans have free will. Universal law number 1, humans have free will.
But you're the one that made the agreement. Your soul already made the agreement. That's your free will.
No, I want my free will now.
That's your ego.
You mean we
But-
can't change it?
One time I heard this thing about predestination.
That's because we made contracts.
Right, and we're predestined for
That's
things.
what that is.
And then it's like the Christians say it this way, you know, on one side of the cross, you're walking up to the cross and it says predestination on that side of the cross. But when you walk under it or through it, you look back and it said free will. I'm not sure, you know, the whole contract thing is hard for me sometimes.
I'm with you.
I just really get bogged down on, you know, it's hard.
I understand what you mean.
It is
It's
hard.
like,
It is hard.
you may be predestined for something, but what's not to say your free will won't alter that course.
That's true.
I see where you're coming from with that.
Right.
If it's totally predestined, then
I
What's
think
the
predestination
past?
is my soul made this agreement.
You know, you get where you're supposed to.
you gotta have
You're always gonna end up where you're supposed to.
Mhm.
It may not be where you think you're supposed to be. You know, like me ending up back in Gilmer, that was not part of my plan. Not at all, but it was part of Spirit's plan.
So with that, do you think that with the free will thing, you can basically, you're only delaying the inevitable, basically?
With free will, our free will is we have a choice of how we respond to what happens.
Ah, okay, I see what you're saying.
I already agreed to have Samantha. I couldn't
Right.
change that.
Right.
I was going to give birth to Samantha. Where my free will came in
It's
was
how you dealt with this.
I could have put her in an institution
Okay.
from the beginning.
That
I
makes
could
a
have
lot
not
more
taken
sense.
as good a care of her as I did. I had my free will. I mean, that was where the free will comes
That
in.
makes a lot of sense, actually.
In a relationship, you have a choice of how you react to each other.
Mhm.
You know, you don't have a choice necessarily what lessons you're teaching each other or learning from each other, but you do have a choice in how you respond to it.
So it's not every little detail that you say, that you're saying is predestinated or whatever. It's the
Right.
big picture,
It's
the
the big
contract,
picture.
and then it goes this way or this way or this way.
Right, like somebody,
And you make more decisions.
somebody can choose that they want to learn about what it's like to be sexually abused. That can happen either through them being sexually abused, through somebody they love being sexually abused, through them working with somebody that's sexually abused. They can learn that lesson different ways. And how they're gonna end up learning it could be their free will. It could be they already made that decision, but it could also be a free will thing of, okay, I'm gonna make this choice and this choice is gonna put me in this situation.
Do they make the choice knowing they made the choice?
No.
Not consciously.
Only on the soul level. At the soul level, we know exactly what we're agreeing to. On this level, we don't.
Unless you access that level and pay attention to it.
Even then, it's hard.
Yeah, you just gotta be open.
You know, I mean, I work in that realm all the time, and I still don't know sometimes what I need to learn.
But true too,
It's how it happens
I
so
still think that we can hold out for the all possibilities. That there's all possibilities, and even if I entered into a contract that I don't know about, that I can move that energy of something that happened sometime space a little,
Mhm.
that I could have control over it, because, not that I'm a control freak, but what I'm saying is
No, you're not, your ego's not, no, we're not.
No.
I still want to go back and say that I still, in this lifetime, have free choice, and that I could, even if it is just changing my attitude and my behavior, to change a circumstance that I don't like,
Right.
that I can.
It's
I
not,
can
okay,
still do something about it, that I'm not this helpless person that has made this contract pie in the sky, and that I'm just destined to be here, and
Right.
that I feel like I have to have some control in that.
right. It's like one of my clients, one of her things that she chose to learn was to love the unlovable. There's so many ways she could have learned that, but she's learning it through a husband that doesn't treat her the way she wants to be treated, you know, through an employee situation that brings up the same issues. The lesson is gonna be learned.
Right.
The free will comes in and who and how.
But can she change that?
That she
I think
has to
so.
learn that lesson?
Yeah.
No.
The lesson she's
No.
trying to learn.
No.
But
If
she
she
can't,
learns it, will it go away?
If you learn it, yes, it goes away. And it's not that it goes away. When you learn it, things are still gonna happen to test you and see, did you really get it?
How do you know if you learned the lesson?
People that helped you with that lesson will drop out of your life. Everything will just start changing where that lesson's not brought up to you all the time.
It shifts. Like I've noticed over the last probably 6 months or so that things cycle. And unless you learn that lesson, that cycle will not break, and it'll be the same lesson with new people, new situations, what have you, and it will
That's why,
change
that's
every
why
time
people
until it
marry the
breaks.
same person over and over and over, because they didn't learn the lesson.
I've noticed that in my own life and people around me, that until you learn that lesson, that cycle will not,
That's
it
right.
continues, and it usually gets worse as it goes by too. Until
Yes, it
finally
gets-
it's like, learn this lesson.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
It-
it gets harder
Yes,
and
it
harder
will
and
knock you
harder.
over the head with a brick.
Big time, yes.
Can you ask it what lesson you're supposed to be learning?
Lots of times that'll come up when I'm working with somebody.
Yeah, how do I know?
There's a lot of different lessons. Yeah, but the thing that comes up in your face the most
Yeah.
is usually what you need, the biggest one. The main thing that I have found with people is separation. Separation is a big one. Being alone, losing people in their lives, not being connected to others, that's a biggie. And that's because when I see God, the creator, whatever, I see it as like a ball of fire, like the sun. To me, that's what it looks like. So when we decide that we want to start incarnating, it's like a piece of that spark, like a fire, flies out and takes off into space and through time. When we do that, even though it was our choice to leave the Creator, we feel like the Creator abandoned us. We feel that sense of separation. And people will go through eons and eons of time feeling that separation, and not be able to get it healed.
Do you think that's part of the unconditional love, once you introduce that? That's what God's part of is the unconditional love that He gave.
Yeah, because when you're really truly living your life in unconditional love, there's gonna be no judgment that you're abandoned. There's gonna be no judgment
Right.
that you're
So
separated.
that's why I'm feeling that if once you enter that and your heart's open to that fourth dimension, the unconditional love, then you have that. Okay,
Exactly.
It's gone.
Exactly.
And I think that once you find that and you heal that with that and you get to know that one chance of it,
Mhm.
then it's gone.
I think that once we really move into, just a second, once we really move into the fourth dimension, people like me aren't gonna be needed anymore. People won't need what I have to offer. Everybody's gonna be already whole and complete again. It's gonna be totally different.
When you say everybody, who are you talking about? I mean, because we're in a spiritual group, but then there's that other group over there, they have no idea. Where are they?
Once we click into the fourth dimension, it's gonna be like the 100th monkey. You know,
Oh, okay,
everybody's heard
uh-huh.
that story. Once we reach a certain percentage and nobody knows what that magic number is,
Critical mass.
everybody's gonna flip. Everybody will flip.
I was just gonna add, you were talking about the separation from creator and all that. I just think it's kind of interesting because you brought up yourself before you started down your metaphysical path, you basically, same thing before. I was a full-blown atheist before I had my spiritual awakening, and I've noticed that's the same with a lot of people. They go through this intense period of doubt and like turning their back on any kind of higher power, and then it just kind of flips a switch. You
Yeah.
know, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, I think have you heard of Dark Night of the Soul?
I've heard of it. I don't know a whole lot
Okay,
about it.
in the Dark Night of the Soul, in the Christian religion, Jesus went through a dark night of the soul in the garden when he was, why am I having to go through this and all that? During the dark night of the soul, you separate yourself from everything, and that would include God. You separate yourself from everything, and you go into this darkness, and you have to figure out who you are and what you believe and what your life is gonna be.
I've noticed too, like separation a lot of times from a situation can help resolve it as well. It's like with the Dark Night of the Soul thing. I have a friend of mine who, him and his boyfriend had broken up due to his fault, and things did not go the way he had planned with that situation, and he went through a really dark depression and suicidal tendencies and all kinds of stuff. And it's like now that he's separated from that situation and actually started digging inward instead, he's come out much better for it. He's doing better than he ever has.
Exactly. We go through dark nights of the soul, and we go through long ones. I just got out of a 3-year. They can be really intense.
And part of that soul fragment too.
Do what?
Part of that was that soul fragment that he's talking about.
Yeah.
Breaking separation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really interesting how everything just kind of clicks together.
It is.
I don't know. I'm finding this conversation very enlightening.
It's perfect. I mean, it always is.
Do people choose the issue of separation as a thing to work on?
Sure.
They come into a place
Because
where
we
they're
have-
separated from
they-
everybody.
Their choice,
Not having
their
fun.
lesson would be learning about oneness, learning that everything is one. And so separation would be part of that, to teach them oneness. So, yeah.
I think that's gonna be cool, because when we go into fourth dimension, or fourth, whatever realm, I think the difference between that fourth is love, and then we can hold the idea of oneness. We can learn, begin, because our minds cannot in any way fathom oneness. It just doesn't work, and that's the majority of my work